The year is 1997, and Volkswagen CEO Ferdinand Piëch is tucked away in a quiet corner of a train, obsessively sketching an engine on an envelope. It was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. 18 cylinders, the most powerful engine ever put in a road car, a nearly impossible feat of engineering. This drawing was the beginning of a project that would change the auto industry forever. Ferdinand would rule over it like a dictator, terrorizing employees and spending over $1 billion, all in the pursuit of a single goal, proving the impossible is possible. Ferdinand grew up surrounded by genius engineers. He was named after his grandpa, Ferdinand Porsche, who designed the Mouse tank, the heaviest tank in existence. His uncle, Ferry, designed the Porsche 911, and young Ferdy himself worked on the engine for the Le Mans-winning 917, Audi's 5-cylinder turbo, and the Quattro all-wheel drive system. Quite a family tree. His first sketch looked like the drawings of an absolute madman. He had taken 3 Volkswagen VR6s and put them together on a single crankshaft. Sure, it was technically a parts bin concept, but actually making it work took a genius with an obsessive and ruthless personality. It took Ferdinand. Ferdy was notoriously difficult to communicate with. Journalists and coworkers have said he had trouble holding a conversation. Ferdinand himself once said he had trouble relating to other people's feelings. It's too bad that autism didn't exist until 2022. He also had a brutal management style. He set insanely high goals with tight timelines, fueled rivalries between employees, and was known for prolific firing sprees. Bob Lutz, a guy who had top positions at every manufacturer in Detroit, called Ferdy's time as Volkswagen CEO a reign of terror. If anyone could make something impossible work, it was this guy. And he did. He set the project into motion, and hardly a year later, the world's first W18 roared to life. Now he just needed something to put it in. In the late 90s, Ferdinand took Volkswagen on a shopping spree, buying out Bentley and even Lamborghini. But for Ferdinand's magnum opus, these legendary brands weren't good enough. He wasn't trying to just raise the bar, he wanted to change people's minds about what a car could be. His engine deserves something sexier, more luxurious, and more prestigious. After losing out to BMW on a bid for Rolls-Royce, crazy sentence to say, Ferdy was at a loss with what to do with his money. But what happened next was something Ferdy himself called a stroke of fate. While on family vacation in 1998, one of his 13 kids, the guy was busy, all right, found a model of a Bugatti Type 57 at a gift shop and begged him to buy it. And then he got the idea, is Bugatti for sale? Volkswagen's board absolutely hated the idea. Yeah, Bugatti had a reputation for beauty, precision, and speed, but that was in the 1920s and 30s, and when their founder, Ettore Bugatti, died in the 50s, the brand pretty much went silent. A revival was attempted in the 1980s with the very over-engineered EB110. It had stuff like a carbon fiber chassis, and even quad turbos. Remember that for later. It was awesome, but it failed, and Bugatti collapsed again. That same year, Volkswagen bought Bugatti for a bargain basement price of $50 million. Peanuts to the $100 million Ford paid for Aston Martin a decade prior. But everyone from industry insiders to journalists were shocked and saw the move as a disaster before the deal was even done. Why did little old Volkswagen need so many luxury and sports brands? Well, it wouldn't be too long before they found out, because Ferdinand had a big old stinky plan. Ferdinand handpicked a super team filled with the best minds from Volkswagen, Audi, and Lamborghini to build his new Bugatti, and then set about traumatizing them. You were working for Ferdinand on his dream project, and you weren't going to forget about it. From the jump, Ferdy set nearly impossible targets, and if you didn't think you could do it, he would fire you and find someone who could. His first huge demand was having a Bugatti concept with his W18 in it ready for the Paris Auto Salon the same year they bought the company. They didn't even have the Wi-Fi set up yet. Under the gun, the team somehow delivered the Bugatti EB118 concept on time. The public loved it. Then Ferdy told them he needed 3 more, and they better have them ready in a year. A development hurricane swept through Bugatti HQ, and around every corner, Ferdy was ready to drop the hammer on anyone who wasn't up to the task. You might have signed onto the project out of excitement, but you were driven by fear and intimidation. If you pushed back, you were fired. If you made a mistake, fired. If you weren't committed to making Freddy's dream come true, you were fired. And you got results. Over the next year, Bugatti unveiled 3 new EB prototypes: the 218 sedan, the mid-engine 18-3 Chiron, and the 18-4 Veyron. There was also a secret 4th car designed by Walter da Silva from Seat at Ferdy's personal request. It was sick, and it was completed on time, but sadly, it wouldn't see the light of day for nearly a decade thanks to a guy named... I've never seen that weird bee before in my life, so I'm gonna say Hartmut Warcub. You see, this guy Warcub had led the design of the Veyron, and he wasn't about to let da Silva's sweet concept steal his thunder. When it came time to pack up for the next auto show, they conveniently forgot da Silva's concept at home. It was a move that potentially altered the course of automotive history. And that's another reason why Ferdy was such a bad boss. He was literally pitting these guys against each other. Everyone loved the Veyron. Ferdy was convinced and announced Warcub's concept was going into production. And then he made some wild promises. The Veyron would have over 1,000 horsepower. It would hit 60 in under 3 seconds. It would go over 250 miles per hour. It would be so elegant and so easy to use that you could drive it to the opera. Because everyone knows if you have to make it to the opera, you have to hit 250 miles per hour to get in. And it wasn't a decade away. It would be on the road in just 3 years. The media and even most of Ferdy's workforce were shocked. This was a pipe dream. It was impossible. He didn't actually think they could make it, did he? At the time, these goals were ludicrous. Ferdy was asking for more power than an F1 car. He was promising the world's fastest accelerating production car. He wanted to break the McLaren F1's top speed record, which had existed for over 10 years. And it had to be comfortable. That was unheard of at a time when driving supercars felt like riding a paint shaker. It was miserable. The project became a punching bag overnight. Gordon Murray, the guy who designed the McLaren F1, called it the most pointless exercise on the planet. Jeremy Clarkson said it would never exist.
That's 140 grand for a watch commemorating a car that doesn't exist.
And never will exist.
That's amazing.
So with the world laughing at their project and Ferdy threatening their livelihoods if they didn't do it, the engineers got to work. The first problem was pretty obvious, Ferdy's goofball envelope engine. Ferdy's beloved W18 was just too wide and too heavy. If this project was gonna succeed, the engine had to be changed. Miraculously, after some very harsh words were exchanged, no one was fired, and Ferdy agreed. After all, they were going to use another engine he had designed. This one was on a paper towel instead of an envelope. The team settled on the 8-liter W16 from the Bentley, I don't know how to pronounce that, Undiris concept. It made a whopping 623 horsepower. So only 377 to go, guys. The engineers, though, had a little trick up their sleeve. They used the quad turbo system from the EB110. With their prototype quad turbo W16 ready, they crammed it all into a modified Lamborghini Diablo to test it in the real world. And they hit a bunch of problems. The 5-speed transmission couldn't handle the engine's 900 foot-pounds of torque, and it quickly became evident nothing from the Volkswagen parts bin would fix the problem, not even the sausages. They had to invent a new transmission and brought in the experts from Ricardo to build a gearbox that could handle F1 power and work well for 10 years, not just 3 hours. It demanded new software, its own cooling system, and it had to shift smoothly, even in stop-and-go traffic, you know, for those opera nights. The team came up with a computer-driven 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. This was also put in the Diablo test mule, and back out it went to Volkswagen's secret test track in South Africa. For everything they fixed, a new issue came up. They had the horsepower and a good transmission, but now the weight and the power were turning regular tires into raggedy-ass sauerkraut. They had to ask Michelin to invent a brand new tire, and they had to design a new all-wheel drive system. Now the car was even heavier, which required a redesigned suspension, and so on and so on. And all this was just about making the power and getting it onto the road. Throw in handling, braking, cooling, and comfort, and engineers found themselves wrestling with an almost impossible problem. Also, Ferdy was making things even worse. He liked one concept design for the bodywork so much that he signed off on it way before the engineers were ready and refused to change it. Now they had to work with the body they were given, just like me and my protruding tailbone. Don't look at it too long. I'm very self-conscious about it. They even had to abandon their test Diablo, which was then stowed away in a secret vault in Wolfsburg, Germany, where it wouldn't be found until 2024 by investigative journalist Nolan Sykes when he broke into Volkswagen.
Your feet are like right here. That's crazy.
There were simply too many problems to solve and not enough time to fix them. After a very public crash during testing at Laguna Seca in 2003, the project was delayed. This, of course, wasn't Ferdinand's fault at all. And within a few weeks, most of the project leaders and even Bugatti's president retired. That's when Ferdinand brought in his secret weapon, race car driver turned banker, Thomas Bisker. Bisker sounds like a soup. Bisker was made the new president of Bugatti and inherited hundreds of engineering problems. The biggest was heat management. Cooling the Veyron required a plumbing system more sophisticated than a Taco Bell in Las Vegas. There were radiators for the engine, radiators for the turbo, separate circuits for the oil, transmission, and differential. Even the air conditioning needed to be rethinked. They ended up with 10 radiators in total. 10, 12 if you want to count the heater cores. Have you ever seen a radiator? They're huge. Your car probably just has like one, and maybe on like a Porsche like Tristan's, you have 3. Bisker also had Ferdy's lock design to contend with. To make it work, they had to create a ton of hidden hydraulic flaps and a really complicated wing that could be raised, hidden, and even function as an air brake. It also needed a ton of driving modes because, again, there wasn't one solution to any Veyron problem. To unlock its full potential, you needed to insert a separate special key into a hard-to-reach spot, only when the car is parked, to fully retract the wing and set the suspension at its lowest height. I wish my tailbone could do that. By 2004, it was ready, in theory. Bisker knew he couldn't release this car to the public if it wasn't perfect. At 252 miles per hour, if any little thing goes wrong, it could turn the Bugatti into a coffin. So they tested a lot. 90 engineers combed over every single detail and refined the car well past regulatory standards. They even put matte finishes on the rear fenders to reduce glare because you can't be dicking around with your Maui Jims at 252 miles per hour. They even added more hydraulic flaps to precisely control airflow over brakes and diffusers. Every solution was an invention all on its own, and they all had to work in harmony. At this point, I think it would have been easier to get an F-16 street legal. The first production Veyron rolled out of the Molsheim, France factory in September 2005. Just to put that into perspective, they started development of the Bugatti way before the E3 Halo 1 demo with the weird dinosaurs. Then we got Halo 1, we got the Halo 2 E3 demo, which I want to play so badly, then Halo 2, and then the Bugatti. The Xbox 360 came out 2 months later in November of 2005. That's pretty crazy. You got all those good games on the original Xbox in that span of time. I'm talking Bloodwake. I don't know if anybody knows about Bloodwake. Oh, Lego Star Wars? Shrek game? Yo, Shrek game goes hard. Bro, what were we doing? I want to go back to that time. Take me back and blow me away! Bugatti Veyron instantly changed the car game, and somehow it could do everything Ferdinand promised and more. Let me read you some of these specs. 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, 0 to 100, then back to 0 in 10 seconds. At top speed, it drained its 26-gallon tank in 12 minutes and breathes as much air as you do in 4 days. Its air brake alone generates more braking power than a 1997 Ford Taurus, which is not only impressive, but a very relatable metric. Doubts vanished almost overnight. Even Jeremy Clarkson, who you might remember said it would never exist, declared it the best car we will ever see in our lifetime. So what was the cost at the end of all this? Well, the base model Veyron started at $1.7 million. But even at that price, Bugatti lost an average of over $6 million on every single one. In the end, Ferdy's little project cost Volkswagen $1.6 billion. And despite that, it was viewed as a success. The Veyron was never about making money. It was about making history, changing the future, and satisfying an egomaniac. It also kicked off a new era for cars and started an all-out horsepower war. Supercars started chasing even higher speeds than the Veyron. Regular cars like Dodge Challengers can go 200 miles per hour now off the lot. So what happened to our good old Ferdinand? Well, he kept going and set even crazier records with more Bugattis. He sadly passed away in 2019 at 82 years old, 3 years after the launch of the 260 mile per hour, 1500 horsepower Chiron. And the brand is still around today, with cars sold into the next decade. Was the Veyron reckless? Sure. Excessive? Most definitely. Necessary? Not at all. But it was really sick. And that's all the lore you need to know about the Bugatti Veyron. Next week, we got this insane story about this Ferrari theft ring out of Japan. It's so insane. It's a story I've heard about for years. Super excited about it. We've been doing a ton of research, deep dives. We'll see you there next week. Bye. And if you guys want to watch another episode of Lore Garage before next week, check out this one.